I stared at my laptop screen, surrounded by empty coffee cups in my cramped university office. The clock showed 2 a.m., and my psychology dissertation on modern dating patterns was going nowhere. Dating apps and human connection in the digital age. What had possessed me to choose this topic? You need first-hand experience, my advisor's words echoed in my head. She was right, damn it. I hadn't dated since my dance career went on hold for this PhD. With trembling fingers, I downloaded HeartSync, the latest dating app everyone was talking about. For research purposes only, I muttered, filling out my profile. Lena Mitchell, 34, researcher, former contemporary dancer. Interests, dance, psychology, coffee addiction. I uploaded a recent photo from my last performance workshop. The algorithm churned through potential matches. That's when I saw her. My heart stopped. Mackenzie Parker. The same striking blonde hair, those piercing blue eyes that had haunted my dreams since that workshop 5 years ago. She hadn't aged a day, still radiating that magnetic confidence in her profile photo. Caught mid-choreography, her body forming an elegant line. Holy shit, I whispered, nearly knocking over my cold coffee. Mackenzie was the reason I'd chosen Chattanooga for my PhD. I'd never admitted that to anyone. After seeing her dance at that workshop in Europe, I'd developed a massive crush that never quite faded. But she'd disappeared before I could muster the courage to speak to her. My finger hovered over the screen. This was madness. She was way out of my league. One of the most respected choreographers in contemporary dance. The rational part of my brain screamed that this was unprofessional, mixing research with personal feelings. It's just research, I convinced myself, swiping right before I could chicken out. The screen flashed. Match. My stomach did a backflip. She'd already liked my profile. A message popped up instantly. The dancer from the Berlin workshop? My hands shook as I typed back. You remember? Hard to forget someone who danced like their soul was on fire. I bit my lip, fighting a grin. This was definitely not what I'd expected from my research. The cursor blinked, waiting for my response. Outside my office window, the Chattanooga skyline twinkled, and somewhere in this city, Mackenzie Parker was messaging me. I thought you were in Europe, I wrote. Moved here last month. Running the new contemporary program at River Dance Center. Coffee sometime? For research purposes, of course. For research purposes. Right. I glanced at my dissertation outline, then back at her message. What had I just gotten myself into? My so-called objective research was about to get wonderfully complicated. Coffee sounds perfect, I replied, my heart racing. For research purposes only, naturally. The clock struck 3, but sleep was the last thing on my mind. I had a research meeting, with the woman who'd been starring in my dreams for 5 years, and somehow, by some miracle, she remembered me. Lying in bed that night, memories flooded back like a choreographed sequence I couldn't stop dancing. Berlin, 5 years ago. The workshop that changed everything. I could still smell the polished wood of that ancient dance studio, feel the cool morning air streaming through tall windows. I'd been there on a research grant, studying European contemporary dance techniques. That's when I first saw her. Mackenzie Parker, guest choreographer extraordinaire. She walked in wearing black dance pants and a loose gray top, her blonde hair caught in a messy bun, and the entire room fell silent. Today, we're exploring the space between movement and emotion, she'd announced, her voice carrying authority without arrogance. I watched from the back, pretending to stretch while actually mesmerized by her every gesture. The way she demonstrated combinations made it look like poetry in motion. Then came the evening showcase. I close my eyes now, remembering how she performed her signature piece, Whispers in Empty Rooms. The audience vanished. The world stopped. It was just Mackenzie, moving through space like water, like wind, like something not quite human. Her body told stories that words never could. Damn, I whispered to my dark bedroom, remembering how I'd waited afterward, clutching a coffee cup, rehearsing what I'd say. But the moment never came. She'd been surrounded by admirers, then whisked away to some important dinner. I'd stood there, watching her leave, the coffee growing cold in my hands. My phone buzzes, jolting me from the memory. Another message from Mackenzie, can't sleep. Thinking about that workshop. You were wearing a purple leotard. My breath catches. She noticed me back then? I'd convinced myself I was invisible to her. You remember what I was wearing? I notice everything, especially dancers who move like they're telling secrets. I sit up in bed, heart pounding. I thought you were too busy to notice anyone that week. Busy doesn't mean blind. You caught my attention, but you disappeared before I could talk to you. The irony makes me laugh out loud. All this time, I thought I was the one who missed my chance. We're quite a pair of idiots, aren't we? Let's not waste any more time then. Coffee tomorrow, 10 a.m. at River Brew? I stare at the message, remembering how many times I'd replayed that workshop week in my head, imagining different endings. How many times I'd searched for her name online, following her career from afar. And now here she was, in my city, asking me for coffee. It's a date, I type, then quickly add, for research. Of course. Pure academic interest. Though I should warn you, I might have kept the program from that showcase, with your name circled. My cheeks burn. I hug my pillow, feeling like a teenager again. All those years of wondering what if were about to become what now. Tomorrow I'd see her again, not across a crowded studio but face to face, just us. Sleep proves impossible. I spend the night choreographing conversations in my head, planning outfits and trying to remember how to breathe normally. My dissertation feels like a distant excuse now, a cosmic joke that somehow led me back to the one person I never thought I'd see again. Dawn breaks over Chattanooga, and I'm still awake, still dancing through memories. In a few hours, I'll walk into that coffee shop and finally finish a conversation that started 5 years ago in a Berlin dance studio. Research has never felt so personal. My phone became my lifeline over the next 2 weeks. Between dissertation work and teaching dance classes, I found myself constantly checking our heart-sync chat. Mackenzie had to reschedule our coffee meetup due to a sudden choreography emergency, but our virtual connection deepened with every message. "Tell me about your research," she wrote one evening. "What made you choose online dating?" I curled up in my office chair, fingers hovering over the keyboard. How could I explain that my research topic was partly inspired by my inability to forget her? "I'm interested in how technology changes the way we form connections," I typed instead. "How authentic can digital chemistry be? And what's your hypothesis so far, Dr. Mitchell?" Still gathering data. But I'm starting to think screens can't hide who we really are. Our conversations flowed from academic theories to personal confessions. She told me about the cutthroat world of professional choreography, the politics behind prestigious dance companies, the loneliness of constant touring. I shared my struggles balancing academia with my passion for dance, my fears of losing touch with performance while pursuing research. "I miss the stage," I admitted during one late-night chat. "Sometimes I wake up with choreography in my head but nowhere to dance it." "Dance it for me," she replied. "Video call?" My heart raced. Now? It's midnight. Perfect time for dancing. No one's watching except me. I propped my phone against my desk lamp, pushed back my office furniture, and took a deep breath. The familiar pre-performance butterflies returned as her face appeared on screen. She was in her home studio, sitting cross-legged on the floor, hair loose around her shoulders. "I'm not dressed for this," I laughed, gesturing at my sweatpants and oversized university t-shirt. "You're perfect," she said softly. "Show me what's in your head." I closed my eyes, found the rhythm in my mind, and began to move. No music, just the sound of my breathing and the quiet hum of my office heating system. I let my body tell the story of 5 years of unspoken feelings, of missed connections and second chances. When I finished, silence filled the video call. I turned to see Mackenzie wiping her eyes. "That wasn't choreography," she whispered. "That was a confession." "Maybe it was both," I admitted, my voice shaking. "I have a confession too," she said. "I've been choreographing a piece about regret, about a dancer I let walk away in Berlin." The air seemed to crackle between us, even through screens and miles of digital space. "Mackenzie, I know this started as research for you," she interrupted. "But I need to know if that's all it is now." My heart thundered in my chest. "No," I said finally. "It hasn't been just research since I saw your name on that app." She let out a breath I hadn't realized she was holding. "Good, because I'm terrible at being a research subject. I'm much better at being a potential plot twist in someone's life story." "A plot twist sounds nice," I smiled, touching my screen where her face glowed in the darkness. "Tomorrow," she said decisively. "No more rescheduling. 7 p.m., River Dance Center. Bring your dance clothes. What happened to coffee? Coffee is for research subjects. Dancing is for plot twists. After we hung up, I stood in my silent office, my body still humming with adrenaline. Tomorrow, there would be no screens between us, no careful typing and deleting of messages. Just 2 dancers, a studio, and 5 years of unfinished choreography to complete. I touched my lips, still smiling. My dissertation might need some serious revising, but for the first time in years, research was the last thing on my mind. Life has a wicked sense of humor. After 2 weeks of planning to meet Mackenzie at her studio, fate had other ideas. The annual Chattanooga Dance Festival kicked off that weekend, and I'd completely forgotten I was scheduled to present a workshop on dance psychology. I stood in the festival's main hall, adjusting my microphone, when I saw her. Not through a screen this time, but flesh and blood, slipping into the back row of my session. My carefully prepared speech about kinesthetic empathy suddenly felt like alphabet soup in my mouth. Dance isn't just movement, I heard myself saying, trying not to stare at her. It's a conversation between bodies, a language older than words. Mackenzie smiled, and I nearly forgot my next point. The workshop went by in a blur. Participants paired off for exercises, and I kept stealing glances at her. She'd tied her blonde hair back, wearing a simple black leotard and warm-up shorts that made my mouth go dry. 5 years hadn't changed how she affected me. As people filed out afterward, she lingered. We stood there, surrounded by empty chairs, the distance between us charged with 5 years of unspoken words. "Nice presentation, Dr. Mitchell," she said, moving closer. "Though you never mentioned dating apps in your research." I got distracted by other subjects, I managed to reply, my voice barely steady. Subjects, plural. Should I be jealous? The playfulness in her voice made me bold. Just one subject, actually. Quite fascinating. Blonde, blue eyes, moves like she's made of starlight. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume, something subtle and expensive. Starlight? That's poetic for a researcher. "You inspire poetry," I said before I could stop myself. The air between us crackled with possibility. Someone dropped something in the hallway, making us both jump. Reality crashed back in. We were still in the middle of a crowded festival. "Coffee?" she suggested. "For real this time?" We found a quiet cafe around midnight, long after the day's events ended. The barista looked ready to close but took pity on us. We sat in a corner booth, our knees touching under the table. "I wanted to reach out after Berlin," she confessed, stirring her latte. "But my agent said getting involved with another dancer would complicate things. And now? Now I'm too old to care about complications." She reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. "Besides, you're not just a dancer anymore. You're a researcher studying me." "Studying us," I corrected, threading our fingers together. Dawn found us still talking, having moved from the cafe to walking the empty streets. We ended up at Coolidge Park, watching the sun rise over the Tennessee River. The morning light painted her profile in gold, and I couldn't help thinking how different this was from our virtual conversations. "Your workshop today," she said suddenly, "about dance being a conversation between bodies." "Yes?" She turned to face me, her blue eyes intense. "I think we've been having this conversation for 5 years, even when we weren't in the same room." My heart thundered. "And what is it saying?" Instead of answering, she pulled me closer. The first brush of her lips against mine was gentle, questioning. The second was anything but. We kissed like we danced, with passion, precision, and a hint of desperation. When we finally broke apart, the sun was fully up, and early morning joggers were starting to appear. "Well," she breathed, "that wasn't very professional of us." I laughed, resting my forehead against hers. "I'll include it in my research notes." Field observation. Sometimes digital chemistry translates perfectly to real life. "You're going to need a lot more field observations," she murmured, pulling me in for another kiss. The joggers definitely got an eyeful that morning, but I couldn't bring myself to care. My research had just taken a decidedly personal turn, and for once, I was absolutely fine with compromising my academic objectivity. "Join my production," Mackenzie said one evening, a week after our festival encounter. We were in her studio, the setting sun casting long shadows through the wall-length windows. I'd been watching her work through a new piece, allegedly gathering data for my research, but mostly mesmerized by how she moved. What? I nearly dropped my notebook. Mackenzie, I haven't performed professionally in years. She walked over, still slightly breathless from dancing. You performed for me over video chat, remember? That wasn't just dance, Lana. That was art. That was different. It was private, spontaneous. Exactly what this piece needs. She sat beside me on the floor, her knee touching mine. I'm choreographing a duet about misconnections, about finding someone again after years apart. Sound familiar? My throat tightened. Using our story as inspiration? Living our story through dance. She took my hand, her fingers still warm from moving. Dance with me, not for research, not for documentation. Dance with me because your body still remembers how to speak this language. How could I refuse? We spent hours in that studio, her teaching me the choreography, adjusting my movements with gentle touches that lingered longer than necessary. The piece was intimate, challenging, full of moments where our bodies had to trust each other completely. Here, she'd whisper, her hands on my waist, guiding me through a complex lift. Let your weight fall into me. Trust me to catch you. The metaphor wasn't lost on either of us. Late one night, after everyone else had left the dance center, we were still working on a particularly intense sequence. The studio was dark except for one light, our reflections ghostly in the mirrors. Again, Mackenzie called, though we'd been at it for hours. From the separation sequence. I began the movement, my body expressing the pain of watching someone walk away. She moved toward me, her part representing the years of regret, of searching. When our bodies finally came together in the choreography, something shifted. The rehearsed movements became real emotion. Her hand curved around my neck, not because the choreography demanded it, but because she needed to touch me. My fingers traced her collarbone, forgetting the next sequence. Lana, she breathed. And then we were kissing, desperately, passionately, backed up against the mirror. The cool glass contrasted with her warm body pressed against mine. The security guard's footsteps in the hallway broke us apart. We stood there, breathing heavily, still holding each other. Well, she said, trying to sound professional. That wasn't in the original choreography. I laughed shakily. Maybe it should be. Pretty sure we'd get censored. She tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Though it would certainly sell tickets. The guard's keys jangled outside, reminding us of the late hour. We gathered our things quickly, trying to look composed when he poked his head in. Still here, Miss Parker? Just finishing up some choreography adjustments, she said smoothly, while I busied myself with my dance bag, hoping my flushed face wasn't too obvious. Outside, in the humid Tennessee night, we couldn't stop grinning at each other like teenagers. Your place or mine? She asked, taking my hand. I have an early meeting with my advisor tomorrow, I said reluctantly. Ah, yes. The infamous dissertation. How's that going, by the way? I thought about my research notes, now filled with personal observations about falling for your study subject. Let's just say it's taken an unexpected direction. She pulled me close, kissing me softly. The best research usually does. Walking home alone, my body still humming from her touches, I realized I was in dangerous territory. My dissertation was supposed to be about digital connections, not about how it feels to have your longtime crush pin you against a mirror. But watching my shadow dance along the empty sidewalk, I couldn't bring myself to care about academic integrity. Some stories need to be lived, not just studied. The line between research and reality began to blur dangerously. During the day, I'd sit in my office, trying to write objectively about digital relationships while remembering Mackenzie's hands on my skin during rehearsals. At night, we'd dance until exhaustion, then fall into conversations that had nothing to do with my dissertation. You're holding back, she said one evening, after I'd fumbled a sequence for the third time. The studio was empty except for us, the city lights twinkling through the windows. I'm just tired, I lied. She crossed her arms, seeing right through me. No, you're scared, not of the movement, of what it means. Mackenzie, you're still treating this like research, like you need to maintain some kind of professional distance. The truth hit harder than any criticism of my dancing. She was right. Even as we grew closer, part of me kept hiding behind my academic role, using it as a shield against getting hurt. I'm not just another chapter in your dissertation, Lana. I know that, I protested. But my voice wavered. Do you? She moved closer, her blue eyes intense. Because every time we get too close, you pull back. You make notes in that damn notebook instead of looking at me. That's not fair. This started as research, you knew that. And now? What is it now, Dr. Mitchell? There was an edge to her voice I'd never heard before. The tension crackled between us. I don't know, I admitted finally. I don't know how to be objective about this anymore, about you. Then stop trying. She ran a hand through her hair in frustration. Stop analyzing and just feel. The last time I just felt something for you, you disappeared for 5 years. The words hung in the air between us. I hadn't meant to say that, hadn't even admitted to myself how much her absence had affected me. Her expression softened. Is that what this is about, Berlin? Maybe. I wrapped my arms around myself. I had this crush on you for years, Mackenzie. I followed your career, watched your performances online, and now you're here, and it's real, and I'm terrified of messing it up. She closed the distance between us, her hands gentle on my face. You want to know something? I looked you up too. Every few months I'd check if you were still dancing, what you were researching. I even considered applying for a teaching position at your university. Really? Really. She smiled sadly. But I was scared too, scared you'd see me as just that choreographer who never noticed you back then. But I did notice, she continued. I noticed everything about you. The way you'd stay late after workshops, how you'd help other dancers with their technique, how you danced like you were telling your life story through movement. Tears pricked at my eyes. Why didn't you say something? Same reason you didn't. Fear, pride, bad timing. She wiped a tear from my cheek. But I'm saying it now. This isn't research anymore, Lana. This is us, finally getting our timing right. I kissed her then, pouring 5 years of longing into it. Her hands tangled in my hair as she pressed me against the bar. Our bodies finding the rhythm we'd been practicing for weeks. When we finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, she rested her forehead against mine. So, Dr. Mitchell, what are your research conclusions about digital connections leading to real ones? I laughed through my tears. That sometimes the internet gives you a second chance at what you should have done the first time. And what should we have done the first time? Instead of answering, I pulled her back to me, letting our bodies have the conversation we'd been avoiding for years. That night, we finally stopped being researcher and subject, dancer and choreographer. We just became us, moving together in the darkness, writing our own ending to a story that began in Berlin. My notebook lay forgotten in the corner, and for once, I didn't care about documenting anything. Some moments are meant to be lived, not studied. Word travels fast in the dance community, especially in a city like Chattanooga. It started with whispers during rehearsals, sideways glances when Mackenzie adjusted my position with 2 familiar hands. Then came the gossip in the dressing rooms, quickly silenced when either of us walked in. Did you hear? Dr. Mitchell and Miss Parker. Isn't she supposed to be doing research? Wonder if this is why she got the lead role. I tried to ignore it, focusing instead on our duet, which was coming together beautifully. But the whispers followed us everywhere, even to the campus where I taught dance theory. Professor Mitchell? My advisor caught me after a faculty meeting. A word? She led me to her office, closing the door with deliberate care. I'm hearing some concerns about your research methodology. My stomach dropped. What concerns? There's talk about your personal involvement with a primary subject. She peered at me over her glasses. You understand this could compromise your entire study? Dr. Thompson, I can explain. Can you? Because from where I sit, it looks like you've crossed every ethical boundary in the research handbook. I sat there, feeling like a freshman caught plagiarizing. The relationship developed after the initial research phase. That makes it worse, not better. She sighed, removing her glasses. Lana, you're one of our most promising candidates, but this could derail everything you've worked for. That evening, during rehearsal, I couldn't focus. Every touch from Mackenzie felt weighted with consequences. She noticed, of course she noticed. You're thinking too much again, she said during a break. I can see the gears turning. Before I could respond, the studio door opened. Several board members from the dance company walked in, including Thomas Harrison, their most conservative trustee. Miss Parker, he called out, might we observe today's rehearsal? Mackenzie's spine stiffened, but her voice remained professional. Of course. We ran through the piece, trying to maintain artistic integrity while keeping appropriate distance. It was like dancing with handcuffs on. Every intimate moment we'd choreographed felt scrutinized, judged. "Interesting choice," Harrison commented afterward, his tone anything but approving. "Rather, personal interpretation." "That's the point," Mackenzie replied coolly. "It's about connection." "Indeed." His eyes flickered between us. "Well, we'll be watching the development with interest." After they left, Mackenzie kicked a water bottle across the floor. "Damn dinosaurs and their prehistoric attitudes. Maybe we should tone it down," I suggested quietly. She whirled on me. "Is that what you want, to hide?" "No, but my dissertation." "Forget the dissertation." She grabbed my hands. "Dance with me. Right now. No audience, no research, no judgment." She hit play on the studio system, our piece filling the space. But instead of the choreography, she pulled me into a different dance entirely. Something raw, uninhibited, honest. We moved together like we did in private, telling our truth through motion. When the music ended, we were both breathing hard, wrapped in each other's arms. "That," she said fiercely, "is what we're showing them. That's our story. The board won't like it. Then they can fire me." She cupped my face. "I didn't wait 5 years to find you again just to let some stuffed shirts tell me how to dance about falling in love." My heart stopped. "Love?" She smiled, thumbing away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. "Yes, Dr. Mitchell, love. Want to make a note of that in your research?" Instead of answering, I kissed her, right there in the studio where anyone could walk in. Let them talk, let them whisper. Some data can't be collected through objective observation. That night, we premiered our revised choreography at a small showcase. No holding back, no sanitizing the emotion. Just 2 women dancing their love story in front of everyone who'd been gossiping about them. The silence afterward lasted 3 heartbeats. Then the audience erupted. Even Harrison looked moved, though he tried to hide it. "Well," Mackenzie whispered as we took our bows, "I guess that's one way to come out to the entire dance community." I squeezed her hand, feeling strangely free. "Think I can include this in my dissertation?" She laughed, pulling me closer. "Darling, I think you just wrote a whole new chapter." Life has a way of testing relationships just when they start feeling solid. 3 months into our very public romance, Mackenzie got the call every choreographer dreams of: an offer to create a piece for the Paris Opera Ballet. She told me over dinner at her place, her excitement barely contained. 6 months in Paris, complete creative control, full company resources. My pasta turned to cardboard in my mouth. 6 months? They want me to start in 3 weeks. She reached for my hand across the table. "Come with me." "I can't just leave. I have teaching commitments. My dissertation. You can write anywhere, teach remotely." But we both knew it wasn't that simple. My research was tied to Chattanooga, my advisor already skeptical of my objectivity. Running off to Paris with my subject would definitely cross whatever professional lines I hadn't already blurred. "This is your dream," I said finally. "You have to take it. You're my dream too." The vulnerability in her voice nearly broke me. That night, lying in her bed, I couldn't sleep. The thought of 6 months without her daily presence, without our late-night studio sessions, without waking up to her morning stretches, it felt like Berlin all over again. "You're thinking too loud," she murmured, pulling me closer. "I'm scared," I admitted into the darkness. "What if history repeats itself?" She propped herself up on an elbow, her face serious in the moonlight. "Is that what you think this is? History repeating? Isn't it? You getting an amazing opportunity, me staying behind. The difference is, this time I'm asking you to come with me. This time, I'm choosing us over career politics." Rain started pattering against the windows, matching my internal storm. What if I'm not brave enough to choose us two? She was quiet for so long I thought she'd fallen asleep. Then, "When did you first know you were falling for me?" "What?" "In Berlin. When did you know?" I closed my eyes, remembering. The 3rd day of the workshop, you were demonstrating a sequence about vulnerability. Someone asked why you chose dance as your medium, and you said because some truths can only be spoken through movement. And now? Her fingers traced patterns on my skin. "How would you dance your truth about us?" Instead of answering, I got up, pulling her with me. In the dim light of her bedroom, with the rain as our music, I began to move. She joined me, our bodies finding that perfect synchronization that had always been there, even before words. We danced until the storm passed, until our fears melted into trust, until the space between Paris and Chattanooga didn't seem so vast. "I'll wait," she whispered as dawn broke. 6 months isn't 5 years. But I knew, watching her pack over the next few weeks, that waiting wasn't enough anymore. I'd spent too many years playing it safe, hiding behind academic distance and professional propriety. The night before her flight, during our final studio session, I made my decision. "I need 2 months," I said as we cooled down. "Time to arrange remote teaching, adjust my research parameters, talk to my advisor." Her face lit up with hope. Then you better have a studio space ready for me in Paris." She lifted me off the ground, spinning us both until we were dizzy with laughter and possibility. "I'll create a whole piece about a stubborn researcher who takes forever to follow her heart. As long as it has a happy ending." That's up to us, isn't it? Later that night, watching her sleep, I thought about all the ways love reshapes our carefully planned lives. My dissertation might need serious revision. My career path might take an unexpected turn. But some data can only be collected by living the experience fully. Besides, I thought with a smile, Paris has excellent coffee shops for writing. Everything fell apart on a rainy Tuesday. I was deep into revising my dissertation, incorporating new perspectives on how digital connections translate to physical relationships, when my inbox pinged. The subject line made my blood freeze. "Research ethics violation, immediate action required." Someone had leaked portions of my research notes to the dance department board. Specifically, the personal entries about Mackenzie, our relationship, the intimate details of our rehearsals. What was meant to be private documentation had become public scandal. My phone exploded with notifications. The local dance community's private Facebook group was ablaze with discussion. Someone had posted screenshots of my notes, highlighting passages that made my relationship with Mackenzie seem calculated, manipulative, as if I'd orchestrated our entire romance for research purposes. "Did you see this?" My colleague Lisa texted, attaching a link to a dance forum where people were debating whether Mackenzie had been an unwitting research subject all along. I tried calling Mackenzie in Paris, but it was middle of the night there. Left a voicemail that sounded desperate even to my own ears. "It's not what it looks like. Please call me back." The next morning, her response came via email. "I trusted you. I opened up to you. Was any of it real? Or was I just data for your dissertation? Don't contact me until I figure out how to process this." My fingers shook as I typed reply after reply, each one deleted before sending. How could I explain that those notes were just one part of the story? That they were written early on, before everything changed? The dance center was worse. Whispers followed me through the hallways. Even students in my dance theory class exchanged knowing looks when I walked in. "Dr. Thompson wants to see you immediately," her assistant informed me after class. My advisor's office felt colder than usual. "This is unprecedented," she said, placing the printed screenshots on her desk. "You've compromised not just your research but the entire department's reputation." "Those notes were private," I protested. "They were from the beginning, before you began a romantic relationship with your research subject." She removed her glasses. "A relationship you continued to document in detail?" I was trying to be thorough. "You were being unethical." She pushed a form across the desk. "The board is giving you 2 options: withdraw from the program voluntarily or face a formal ethics investigation." I stared at the paper, feeling my world crumble. 5 years of work, my entire career path, all hanging by a thread. Back in my office, I found an email from Harrison, the dance company trustee. "In light of recent events, your position with the upcoming performance is under review." The irony was bitter. My research about authentic connections in the digital age had destroyed the most authentic connection I'd ever had. I spent the night in the studio, dancing alone, trying to find answers in movement when words had failed me. My phone remained silent, no response from Mackenzie to my dozens of messages. Around dawn, exhausted and desperate, I made a decision. Opening my laptop, I began typing, "Digital Connections and Physical Reality, a Personal Case Study in Modern Romance." If my research was going to end my career and my relationship, at least I could tell the whole truth. Not just the clinical observations, but the real story, How an academic study turned into the greatest love story of my life. I worked through the next day, ignoring calls from the department, pouring everything into the document. Every moment with Mackenzie, every realization that this had become more than research, every time I'd chosen love over academic distance. Just as I finished, another email arrived from Paris. My heart stopped when I saw Mackenzie's name. I'm coming back to Chattanooga. We need to talk face to face. Some things can't be explained through screens or paper. I sat there staring at those words until they blurred. Maybe there was still hope. Maybe, like our first meeting through that dating app, this digital crisis could lead to something real and honest. After all, isn't that what my research was really about? How technology can both complicate and facilitate human connection. How sometimes you have to risk everything to prove what's real? I clicked send on my revised dissertation, then booked a ticket to meet Mackenzie's arriving flight. Some conversations need to happen in person. Some truths can only be spoken through presence. And some data can only be validated by putting your heart on the line. The academic conference hall buzzed with anticipation. I stood at the podium, my revised dissertation trembling in my hands, facing a room full of researchers, dance professionals, and most importantly, my ethics review board. Today, I began, my voice steadier than I felt. I'm presenting not just research findings, but a confession. The room quieted. In the front row, Dr. Thompson watched with crossed arms. Harrison sat nearby, his expression unreadable. My career hung on the next 15 minutes. My study began as an investigation into digital connections in modern dating, but it evolved into something else entirely, a first-hand experience of how technology can lead us back to connections we thought were lost, forever. I clicked through my slides, showing screenshots of dating apps, statistical analyses, but then, diverging from academic convention, I included photos, Mackenzie and me in the studio, our performance shots, real moments captured during what began as research and became life. We talk about maintaining objective distance in research, I continued, but some phenomena can only be truly understood through immersion, through living the experience fully. The door at the back of the hall opened. My heart stopped. Mackenzie walked in, still in travel clothes, her hair messy from the flight. She'd made it. 5 years ago, I met someone who changed how I viewed dance, connection, and love. I lost her because I was afraid to step out of my academic role. Then technology, the very subject of my research, gave me a second chance. I looked directly at the ethics board. Yes, I crossed lines. Yes, I became intimately involved with my research subject. But in doing so, I discovered something more valuable than detached observation. I found that sometimes the most profound academic insights come from allowing ourselves to be human. The room remained silent. I could feel career opportunities evaporating with each word, but I kept going. My original research question was, can digital connections lead to authentic relationships? The answer is yes, but not because of algorithms or interface design. It's because technology can give us the courage to be vulnerable, to try again, to dance like nobody's watching? Mackenzie's voice carried from the back of the room. She started walking down the aisle, all eyes following her. Exactly, I said, my voice catching. Sometimes you have to break protocol to find truth. She reached the stage, taking my hand. Dr. Mitchell's research changed my life, she addressed the audience. Not because she studied me, but because she stopped studying and started living. Dr. Thompson stood up. This is highly irregular. So is love, Mackenzie interrupted. So is art, so is anything worth studying. She turned to me, blue eyes fierce with determination. Show them. Understanding perfectly, I stepped away from the podium. In our business attire, in front of academia's finest, we began to dance. No music, no choreography, just the pure truth of movement we'd discovered together. The room collectively held its breath. When we finished, there was a moment of absolute silence. Then, from the back, someone started clapping. Others joined in. Even Harrison was nodding, a slight smile breaking through his usual stern expression. Dr. Thompson approached the stage, adjusting her glasses. Well, she said, I believe we've just witnessed the most unique dissertation defense in our department's history. Is that good or bad? I whispered. She actually smiled. Let's call it groundbreaking, though please don't encourage all our PhD candidates to dance during their presentations. Mackenzie squeezed my hand as the applause continued. Told you some truths can only be spoken through movement. Later, celebrating in our favorite coffee shop, she showed me the Paris Opera Ballet's official offer, not just for her, but for both of us. A chance to collaborate, to create, to continue our research through dance. What do you say, Dr. Mitchell? Ready to collect more data? I pulled her into a kiss, not caring who saw. I think we need several years of field research, don't you? Some hypotheses are worth proving over and over again. 1 year later, our dance video hit 1 million views on YouTube. Digital Love a Dance Story became a viral sensation, with dance companies worldwide requesting permission to perform our piece. The irony wasn't lost on me. Our personal journey had become the very definition of digital connection leading to real-world impact. Your fans are getting impatient, Mackenzie teased one morning in our Paris apartment, scrolling through comments on her phone. They want to know when we're releasing the next collaboration. I smiled, watching her morning stretches in the sunlight streaming through our window. Tell them we're working on something special. We were. After my controversial but ultimately celebrated dissertation, we'd been commissioned to create a series of pieces exploring modern love stories. But our biggest project wasn't professional, it was personal. That evening, in our private studio at the Paris Opera Ballet, we were putting final touches on a new duet. This one wasn't for public performance, it was for us. For our wedding dance. Remember when you first matched with me on that dating app? I asked, as we worked through a particularly intricate lift. I was sitting in this very studio, procrastinating on choreography. She set me down gently, keeping our bodies close. Best research subject ever, wasn't I? You certainly provided extensive data. She laughed, spinning me into our next sequence. Is that what we're calling it now? The wedding was small, just close friends and family in a converted dance studio in Chattanooga. Dr. Thompson came, bearing news that my dissertation had been published in several prestigious journals. Harrison attended too, proudly announcing that our love story had inspired the dance company to create a scholarship for LGBTQ dancers. But the real magic happened during our first dance. No cameras allowed, no documentation, just us, moving to the rhythm we'd discovered together, telling our story one more time through dance. The piece began with us apart, each in our own spotlight, the researcher and the subject, separated by protocol and pride. Then, through a series of increasingly intimate movements, we showed our journey, the digital connection, the recognition, the fear, the surrender to something bigger than careers or conventions. As we moved through the final sequence, I caught glimpses of our guests. Some were crying, others smiling knowingly. They'd all been part of this story, watching it unfold from skepticism to celebration. The dance ended with a new movement we'd created just for this moment, a combination of academic bow and balletic curtsy, breaking into joyous, uninhibited motion, formal structure dissolving into pure happiness. Dr. Mitchell Parker, Mackenzie whispered as we held our final pose, your research methodology was flawed from the start. Oh? You can't study love objectively. You have to dive in head first. Later that night, as we swayed together on the rooftop of our hotel, overlooking the city where our story began again, I thought about the serendipity of it all. How a dating app, a research project, and a second chance had led to this moment. What are you thinking about? Mackenzie asked, her head resting on my shoulder. That sometimes the best data comes from letting your heart lead the research. She lifted her head, those blue eyes sparkling with mischief. Speaking of research, I may have started a new project. Really? She pulled out her phone, showing me an adoption agency's website. Ready to study parenting dynamics with me? My heart swelled. That might require years of field observation. Good thing you're a thorough researcher. As we danced under the stars, I thought about all the chapters yet to be written in our story. The performances we'd create together, the family we'd build, the love we'd keep discovering in new ways. Some people spend their lives studying connection, others live it. Somehow, I'd gotten lucky enough to do both. Hey, Mackenzie said softly, dance with me forever? I pulled her closer, our bodies finding that perfect rhythm we'd never lost. Now that's a research project I can commit to. And we danced, our shadows merging into one on the rooftop floor, writing the beginning of our next chapter together.